Hey there, fellow soil enthusiasts. I know what you're thinking right now. Did I really just say that cardboard beats compost? Before you click away or leave an angry comment, hear me out. I've spent years building soil in my gardens, and what I'm about to share completely changed how I approach soil health. This isn't about ditching your compost pile, it's about understanding why that humble Amazon box sitting in your recycling bin might be the secret weapon your garden has been missing. Here's something most gardening advice gets wrong. We're obsessed with feeding our plants when we should be building soil structure first. I learned this the hard way after years of dumping beautiful finished compost onto my clay-heavy beds and watching it basically disappear within months. The tomatoes looked great initially, but the soil, it was the same compacted mess by the following spring. The problem is that traditional compost, as wonderful as it is, breaks down relatively quickly. It's nutrient-dense and biologically active, which sounds perfect until you realize those same qualities mean it's being consumed and metabolized by soil organisms at a rapid pace. You're essentially feeding the soil life without giving them a lasting home to live in. It's like serving a gourmet meal in a restaurant with no tables or chairs. Cardboard operates on an entirely different timeline than compost, and that's precisely why it's so powerful for soil building. When you sheet mulch with cardboard or incorporate it into your growing beds, you're introducing a carbon-rich material that breaks down slowly. We're talking 6 months to 2 years depending on conditions. This extended decomposition period creates something compost alone cannot: lasting soil structure. As cardboard slowly degrades, it becomes a scaffolding system for your soil. The cellulose fibers break down into increasingly smaller fragments, creating air pockets and channels that remain stable for much longer than compost particles. These channels allow water infiltration, root penetration, and gas exchange, the holy trinity of soil health. Meanwhile, the decomposing cardboard feeds fungi, which create their own network of mycelial threads that literally hold soil particles together. Think of it this way. Compost is like adding sand to build a castle, while cardboard is like adding the framework that holds everything in place. You need both, but without that framework, your castle washes away with the first rain. Here's where we get into the science that makes cardboard such a game changer. Cardboard has an extremely high carbon-to-nitrogen ratio, roughly 500 to 1. Before you panic about nitrogen depletion, stay with me. This high CN ratio actually forces your soil ecosystem to work in ways that build long-term fertility. When soil microbes encounter cardboard, they need nitrogen to break it down. Initially, they'll pull nitrogen from the surrounding environment, which is why I always recommend adding a nitrogen source like grass clippings, coffee grounds, or yes, compost, alongside your cardboard layers. But here's the magic. As those microbes die off, they release that nitrogen back into the soil in a slow, controlled manner. This creates a time-release fertility system that feeds your plants steadily, rather than in boom and bust cycles. Compost, with its lower carbon-to-nitrogen ratio of around 20 to 1 or 30 to 1, releases nutrients much faster. That's excellent for annual vegetables that need quick nutrition, but it doesn't create the lasting structural improvements that perennial gardens, food forests, and regenerative systems require. Let me share something that completely revolutionized my understanding of soil health. Cardboard is fungal food. While compost tends to favor bacterial decomposition, cardboard's tough cellulose structure requires fungal specialists to break it down effectively. These fungi, particularly saprophytic fungi that specialize in decomposing tough plant materials, create extensive mycelial networks as they colonize the cardboard. These fungal highways become permanent infrastructure in your soil. They connect plant roots, transport nutrients and water across distances, protect against pathogens, and aggregate soil particles into stable crumbs. I've dug into beds where I laid cardboard 2 years prior and found the soil transformed into this gorgeous, crumbly texture that holds together when squeezed, but breaks apart easily. That's fungal architecture at work. Compost contains fungi too, but because it's already partially decomposed, it doesn't promote the same extensive fungal colonization. It's like the difference between building a new neighborhood from scratch versus moving into existing apartments. Both have value, but only one creates entirely new infrastructure. Let me get practical with you. 3 years ago, I started an experiment in my backyard. I had 2 identical 4x8 raised beds with the same terrible clay soil. In bed A, I added 4 inches of beautiful homemade compost each spring. In bed B, I did a cardboard base layer with 2 inches of compost on top the first year, then maintained with just cardboard and grass clippings in subsequent years. So, year 1, bed A outperformed bed B just a little bit. The compost provided instant nutrition, and the plants really responded to that. But here's where it gets interesting. In year 2, the beds performed equally, and by year 3, bed B is absolutely crushing it. The soil structure is just incomparably better. It drains perfectly but still holds moisture right in the root zone. Earthworm populations are, get this, 3 times higher. And the plants show that deep, sustained growth that tells me they're accessing nutrients from a truly healthy soil ecosystem. Meanwhile, bed A still needs that annual compost amendment to perform well. I'm basically starting over each season because I never built the foundation. Bed B, on the other hand, has become self-sustaining in a way that amazes me every single time I work in it. The key is layering and timing. I've found that sheet mulching in fall gives you transformed soil by spring. Lay cardboard directly on the ground. Don't remove grass or weeds, just flatten them. Overlap edges by at least 6 inches to prevent sneaky weeds from finding gaps. Remove tape and labels, but don't obsess over the small stuff. Then add your nitrogen sources. I use a 2-inch layer of compost, grass clippings, or aged manure directly on the cardboard. This feeds the decomposition process and prevents that nitrogen tie-up problem. Top everything with wood chips or straw to keep it looking intentional, and to add even more carbon for long-term structure building. For existing beds, I've had great success digging shallow trenches between plants, burying torn cardboard pieces, and backfilling with compost. The cardboard breaks down underground, creating those critical air channels and fungal networks right in the root zone where they matter most. Here's what I wish someone had told me years ago. Building real soil takes time, and it requires materials that resist quick decomposition. Compost is absolutely essential for providing nutrients and biological inoculation, but, cardboard creates the lasting structure that transforms dirt into living soil. The best approach? Use both strategically. Let cardboard build your foundation and soil structure. Let compost provide nutrition and biological diversity. Together, they create something neither can achieve alone. Soil that gets better every year instead of requiring constant inputs to maintain baseline health. Your garden deserves more than a yearly compost boost. It deserves a foundation that will still be working for you 5, 10, even 20 years from now. And honestly, that foundation starts with something you were probably about to throw away. So grab those cardboard boxes, fellow gardeners. Your future soil is waiting to be built. If this changed how you think about soil building, hit that subscribe button and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Let's build better soil together, one cardboard box at a time.